Welcome to International Trade Systems Entity Profile Entry Help video. Within this lesson, I'm going to show you how to enter entities into the system. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to click on the Entity tab, and when you get to the Entity tab, you're going to see some sub-tabs with Entity Profile, Products, Manufacturers, and Codes. The only one we're going to focus on today is the Entity Profile. And as you can see at the top of the screen, we just have a green check, which saves the data as you're doing the work. We have the printer. We have a denied party list. So this list gets updated every night at 11 o'clock. And so when you are entering an entity, you can type in the name of the entity before you actually do the work to see whether that entity is on the denied party list. As you move across the top of the screen, you can also see this pull down menu where we have accounting info about the entities, custom brokerage info, related entity info, which I'll talk about in more detail when we get to that part of the training, as well as the auto billing. So those are the four areas we're really going to focus on within this profile. The other thing we've got is a broom. So if you have data that's on the screen, you are able to swipe it off and get rid of it. And then we do have a delete function where you can delete the entities. On every screen, like every screen actually, and every field, if you type in the name, if you have a down arrow here, you can type in the name of what you're looking for. So if I'm just going to look for the ITS demo account, I can start typing in ITS demo. And as I type the information, you can see the search function working where it will go find that entity within the program. And then I can either use my mouse to bring it up, or I can use the down arrow to bring it up and hit enter. And as you can see, is on the left side of the screen is all the basic pertinent information about an account: their name, their address, their telephone number, their contacts, their emails. Fields that don't have to be entered if you don't want, it will automatically default, are fields like the sort name. And the sort name just allows you to look up things in different order. So if you had John Smith as one of your customers, you could put Smith in the sort name and it would look it up by Smith rather than John. You have email address, you have your main department. Main department is if you have multiple locations as a company, if you're in Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York, but the main department for that account is for your Los Angeles department, you could put that department in there. We also have a place for your CT-PAT. We keep track of the sign-up date, and we allow you to tell us whether the customer is active or inactive. Or if you don't want to show it anymore, you can just put none. Over here we have the profile types. So after you enter in the name of an account, that entity can be a customer. At the same time, that customer could also be the bill to party. They could also be a consignee. They may be a foreign agent as well. So you can choose as many of these entity profiles as you want for a particular account. You're not limited to one-to-one. It could be many to one. We also have a place for you to put notes into the account, and we keep a history of when the accounts are entered, when somebody comes in and makes a change on an entity. All of that will be kept in the history file. Now, as I was saying earlier, we have this pull-down menu where we can put additional information onto the screen. So we have accounting information, and we can just hit the go button, and when we do, it allows us to tell the system, here's how many days they have to pay, here's the terms, here's their credit limit. You may have an accounting person's name that's different than the main contact from the first screen. You have a different bill address that you can put in here. And then at the bottom of the screen, we have multiple payment types. So we do have some customers that even though they have a 30-day term for an overall invoice, they may want to put on the invoice specifically 10 days for duty, 15 days for trucking, 30 days or 25 days for some other service that you're providing them. So you're not limited to just having one 30-day term. You can have up to 5 terms within our system. We also give you a place to have comments. You can have comments on your invoice, but you can have standard statements appear on your invoice from inside the entity profile. So if you always want to tell that customer thank you for their business, you can put that in here, and this will also print on their invoice. The next item I wanted to go through is the custom brokerage information. And here's where, at the top of the screen, you can do a 5106 query from here. You can do an importer bond query from here. And this is where you would get the bond information. So when you do the bond query, the bond information will appear in this little window right here for you to evaluate. It will bring all of that into the entity automatically for you, so you don't have to type it. And then as you can see, this is where if you have an MID or MIDs that are specific to the entity, you can enter them there. You don't have to. As you're doing entries and you're entering your MID information through the entries, it will also automatically keep track of those for you. This is where you'd put in your power of attorney and the expiration date, or whether it's indefinite, the state of incorporation, surety codes, the payer unit numbers. Go right here. The FDA indicator numbers would come in here. So all of that is contained within this separate window. Now we also have a place at the bottom where if you do want to turn some things on to have more information stored for you for that entity, you do that at the bottom of the screen where you can save the HTS numbers that are used for that particular customer. If you want to prompt for interim ports, so a lot of customers, a lot of your customers may want full supply chain tracking. And if you turn this on, the system will, during their entries, bring up an additional set of information that's going to be asked for in the brokerage module. So that is the custom brokerage information. Then we have the related entities. Now, a related entity is basically saying that the ITS demo account is the, let's just call it the mother account, and then within that account, it shares information. It's a shared entity. They're related entities. They could be children, they could be cousins. So we have a buying party, a VGL company. We have a consignee, ITS test. We have another consignee, NewTek. And what's nice about this, let's just focus on the consignee one. When I'm entering a consignee, or I get to the consignee field within what we call the base file, if I do a lookup within the ITS demo account, only these 2 consignees are going to show up on the list. So I'm going to be limited to just the related entities for that account. And the last piece of information that we're going to go over within the entity profile is the auto billing. Now within the auto billing, what you can do, and you can have auto billing based on different departments. So if you do have multiple locations that share a particular entity, but you have different rates for those locations, you can set each of those up separately within the system. We also let you set up free HTS lines. So if you don't want to charge for the first HTS lines that you're doing, you just put that in the system, and then you tell the system, here's how many we're going to charge after those 5. And you can do the same thing with the invoicing. You can do the same thing with the bond charges. If you do have a related entity that you're going to bill, you could put that in here as well. And then at the bottom of the screen is where you're entering the billing codes that you're always going to have show up in the invoice program. Every time I do a billing for the ITS demo account, all of these items are going to show up on the invoice. I can delete them at that point if there's something that doesn't make sense for a particular shipment. But also notice that I can put in the vendor number. So if I always use the same trucking company for a particular entity, I can enter this in here so the operator doing the work does not have to think about it. It just happens for them. The other one to pay attention to is right here, the duty. You always want to have the duty entered as an auto billing. You always leave the amount as 0 because the system will go get it for you. And then you have vendor number 9999, which is the customs, the U.S. Customs entity. That is the entity profile. If you need more details or you have questions, certainly call our support line or send us an email. Thank you.